Hello, everybody. Good morning. So we're here today to talk a little bit about our experience in the Enki Teacher Training Program. And my name is Inanna, and I have, along with my group here, have been involved with the teacher training. We're about 2/3 of the way through at this point. And we wanted to discuss a little bit about what the training has meant in our lives. For me, there's a lot to say. I will start initially by saying I have been homeschooling for 5 years. I've been using the Enki materials. I was introduced to them at the beginning of my homeschool career, but I started the training. I was already 3 years through, and the training has grounded me in my teaching ability, has increased my confidence, my knowledge of how to use the materials, because it is, as we've learned, Enki is not the materials, it's really how we approach education. And the training has really given me a grounding in how to approach teaching and education in that full ecosystemic perspective. And so I'm going to turn it over to anybody else who wants to join in and share themselves a little on that.
I guess I'll go next. My name's Tess. I taught public school for 4 years, and then I stayed home with my daughters, and I'm doing a hybrid of the first grade this year. I've been studying for 2.5, and really tried to think about what Enki has meant for me. And a lot of you already know this, but it's just a real kind of trust in, it feels like a paradigm shift. I felt when I was teaching, I was always rushing, doing, speeding, not really wondering if the kids are really being met developmentally and spiritually and socially, emotionally. It was just a lot about the testing, and I just felt like there was something more. So I started to seek Waldorf and did some mommies in me type thing, and slowly learn and expand my horizons in that sense. And then I luckily found Enki. And for me, the biggest part is coming from a person who always wants to know the answers. It's that contemplative piece. And I really feel that that's the biggest thing for me, is that you're always living in the question. It's like nature. Nature doesn't get stuck in having something one way, but it really is about always questioning, always doing the work yourself, always being open to a new way that the kid, like a curiosity, I guess. Someone can help me out here, but I feel like it's really kind of building that curiosity in the kids and that wonder. And I'm not going to say that the shift is easy. It's been really hard, and I've had a lot of questions. And but I love that Beth just keeps encouraging me to have my questions. I had why story, and I had to live in that for years. And then finally, when she said, it's like, why ask a fish, why does a fish need water? It's like the story is, it really feeds the soul. And I think as an educator, I'm really looking for that soul piece for myself and for whoever whether it's my own kids or whoever I touch in the future.
Before we go, keep sharing, I'm wondering if we could just take a moment for everyone to introduce themselves and their relationship to Enki and the training, because there are things I wanted to piggyback off of both of you, but then it cuts it to then introduce myself and continue that conversation. So could we take a moment and everyone just introduce themselves and then come back to that exchange?
Okay.
Okay with everybody? So to finish up the introductions, I'm Kirky, and I've been in education for about 16 years probably. 10 of them as a public teacher in the standardized classroom, and in the last 6 exploring Enki with my homeschool cooperative and my own children, and teaching or training and working with Beth in a more one-on-one fashion for a few years, and then joining this cohort and teacher training the last couple of years. So I'm going to pass the ball over to Fiona for introduction.
All right, so I'm Fiona, and I am a public school teacher currently at middle school, teaching reading in a more specialized manner, because these are the kids, I'm working with the kids that just didn't get the skills they needed early on. And prior to that, I taught first and kinder. So I've been a school teacher for 25 plus years. And I came to know of Enki when Emily, who's also here today, and I started a proposal for a elementary charter school, and just decided that Enki was the direction we wanted to go. So I'll pass it to Emily so she can continue on that.
So my name is Emily. I live in Silver City, New Mexico, and I'm in my 18th year teaching in public schools. For the first 15 years, I was a special education teacher at a middle school and then an elementary school. For the last 3 years, I've taught regular education. Currently, I'm working with 6th graders.
Do you want to toss the ball, Emily?
Oh, I just figured whoever wanted to go next. I don't know, Tegan or either one of you.
Well, my name's Tegan, and I live in rural New Brunswick. I've taught, I guess, environmental and nature-based education since 1997, so I guess I'm in 20 years. But did my early childhood in Montessori education, and have started an art and nature school starting as a preschool, and now it goes up to grade 7 since 2008 here in rural New Brunswick. And I came to Enki as my eldest daughter was approaching 4 years old, and I was really looking for a pedagogy that spoke to me. And Enki was introduced to me from some people in Nova Scotia, and I've loved it. But this teacher journey is even more enriching, and we'll share that later. So whoever's left, I'm going to pass the ball to you.
My name is Jill. I have been a special education teacher for 30 years. I'm living in the state of California. I am raising my grandson, and I came to Enki with the desire to open some kind of school for children, and in researching about 4 years to find an educational pedagogy that really resonated with me. And, I just kept coming up short. They each had something I liked, but it just didn't sit with me. And when I read something about Enki, I just intuitively knew that this is what I had been searching for. And so I did it first, and it has been just a very deep journey that we'll share later.
Perky, do you want to jump back in? Did you want to continue the conversation or just start again where you are?
Sure. There were a couple, when both you and Tess spoke, a couple things that resonated with me. And I think one of them was, Tess, when you said for you, it really opened up that space of living in the question and being in that and kind of the evolution with that. And that resonates with me because having been a classroom teacher where there was a very specific set of standards I had to reach, sometimes a particular way to get there, sometimes more freedom in how I got there with the children. Enki has totally flipped how I am with the children on its head, in terms of giving me permission to just always be with them and be present, and it's become more about an experience of living with children. A lot of times when I talk about it, I don't even say it's my teaching with children. I said it's shown me how I want to live with and be with children. So it's that part of being in the experience with children. That's like the biggest broad stroke, I think, that Enki has opened up for me. And when I think about the training and what it means to me, just like Enki, there are so many layers. I came into it wanting to learn the curriculum and the pedagogy and how to be with children and specifically deliver it in the classroom. But what I have found is there's a whole other layer of exploration about myself and how I can connect to myself and tap into my authentic self through our experiences together, that allows me to just be deeper with myself and with my family, and then with my classroom and the children that I teach. So I think that's a huge gift that the training and my work with all of you guys have given me that I wasn't necessarily looking for when I came to Enki kind of through that teacher lens. I want to do this with children. How do I do it? And it's been so much deeper and richer than I ever expected.
Yeah, I think it's really worth pointing out that, you know, with public education, and I know a number of us have had experiences with public education, you know, forming us as teachers. It's about the goal there is getting kids ready for, you know, a job in the world, or fitting in, you know, being a productive member of their community. And then other, you know, so Montessori is about, you know, making kids, you know, independent, and all these, you know, different pedagogies have their goal. But the thing that I love the most about Enki, and I'll just show our web here, is the goal is wisdom and vitality. So nurturing wisdom and vitality in children, and when we do that, we nurture it in ourselves. I've just, in the time that I've been training, and I haven't even fully been using any of the, you know, fully using the materials like some of you are, it causes me to look for that in my own child. Is what I'm doing with her, nurturing her wisdom and vitality? Am I meeting her where she is developmentally? You know, and I think if you ask most parents, you know, what do you want for your child? I don't think the first thing they're going to say is, well, I want them to have a good job, or I just want them to be independent, or I just, you know, that's what, you know, it's that they can connect into the web of life that we live in, like our connection with each other, our connection with all of the natural world, our connection with everybody. And that's what this education, I feel like, leads us to do through the questions that we keep asking. And then the other thing that has been the paradigm shift that you mentioned, Tess, is I think a lot of times as teachers, we're used to some kind of manual, or like, these are the materials, this is how you use them. Enki just turns all that on its head in a way that's really nourishing and challenging, but really liberating. And I think that, you know, those of us who are really interested in raising consciousness on our planet, I mean, this is it. Like, I think anybody who's interested in raising a child who will be a compassionate human being who's tapped into themselves and everybody, like, these are the questions, and this is it for me.
I just want to just say one thing real quick, Emily. I agree, and then I look at Waldorf, who are also doing the same. They're trying to do the same thing. They have the ecosystem where they look at the whole and they look at the web. However, the big difference with that is they have a pretty set and rigid way of doing it, in my opinion. And then the biggest thing is also the multiculturalism that Enki brings. Waldorf is pretty Eastern European mostly. And then you have Enki, that the stories are from all over the world. And I think as a global citizen, which is kind of one of my goals for my child, is that Enki brings that global citizen skill set.
Totally. And I
Well,
also,
it's that.
oh, sorry.
I was going to say it brings in the focus being that it's the human journey and connecting them into this reality that we are all on a journey together, no matter where we grew up, or what family heritage, what cultural heritage, that this energy that's flowing through all of us is the same, and it shows up in such diverse ways, but that they can tap in and start to see that what they're experiencing in their world is mirrored all around. And that's, yeah, I agree that is a really big part. And I also wanted to add too, with the piece, the integration, when we're talking about integration, that being the ultimate, what we choose to do with the children. It's not, okay, this needs to be taught at this time or that, and many of you spoken to that, but that it's like, what does this child need right now to be integrated? And that is the deciding factor of what is best in this moment, and to hold integration as being the guide, has really spoken to me.
And then to take it a step further, to say, okay, well, what am I overlaying on this situation? To have enough of practice of being aware of yourself, of what part of this is a projection and what part of this is right now. It might take a long time to come to that. So.
I would just piggyback on what Perky said about, it's a deep journey for us. And I think that Enki is so beautifully orchestrated in that it takes us through the journey of what we want to bring the children, because if we don't have it, we can't offer it. So it's beautifully orchestrated in a way that it brings us to our inner vitality and wisdom in a manner that is, whether it's, our discussions with our cohorts, whether it's through lectures with Beth. And my most recent has been with a trigger that I am learning to welcome. And in that triggered place, I'm kind of a late bloomer, but I literally could feel Enki bringing me to my inner vitality. And I could literally feel all of my fragmented parts become integrated, and really, really the deep meaning of Enki is to be integrated and whole. And I really literally felt breathing, vitality of breath coursing through my veins. So it was, this is the compass that we want to set for our children. There is nothing more beautiful. That's
right.
what it has meant to me.
Yeah, I think that was really well said, Jill. It's the teacher training process has brought me personally so much growth and opened my eyes in new ways. And it's really been, I feel like, a gift to myself, not just, cognitively learning something. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think, the part that resonates with me, having taught from kinder to now 8th grade in the public schools, it's the centeredness around child development. And, each week, each time we come, or each month when we come together, and we're looking at a different age of children and really applying the principles of child development and where they're at and what they're ready for. That just really speaks to how focused Enki is on making sure that children are integrating what they're learning and learning deeply. One of the biggest shocks now teaching middle school is things that in the public school we expected them to learn in 1st grade, 2nd grade, and here they are in 6th grade and we're reteaching it. Well, why are we reteaching it? Because in public school, we're asking them to learn it too early and at such a surface level that nothing goes deeply. And so that's what excites me most about Enki at this point is that deep learning and that building that solid foundation for children in such an integrated way, in such a way that they're ready for developmentally. And then, of course, Tess, struggled initially with the whole idea of why story. And that's the part that just, I know, I just can't wait to really have the chance to implement that story piece with children. So,
well, now that I know the stories, it's a different story.
Exactly. Yeah.
Pun intended.
Into it now. So.
And all you're sharing, for me, the word authentic keeps coming up today in my mind and reflecting on it. And I just think the training has allowed me to peel back my layers to find and always tap into my authentic nature. And then, like you're saying, Fiona, the goal of that with the children, if we're always looking to come from that authentic nature starting point, it's looking at where they are in the typical child development. Someone else said it's looking at the child and how it, not what should be happening, but what is happening for that child, and then coming from there. So I feel like it's really being able to peel back and tap into that authentic nature, and then work with it so that the wisdom and vitality is at the heart of that web. It's hard to sum it up in one phrase or description. And that's what the thread that I'm seeing through a lot of our sharing and what I feel for me. And the piece when you showed the web, Emily, I was thinking, the web is not only a support for my teaching in the classroom, but it's also support in my life and being a mom of 3 children, and what is off here in my ecosystem, what needs more attention, what needs more slack. Once you start working with that, as we have been doing in our training, it becomes a support in all aspects, not just in the classroom.
She's back. Shh.
I was just curious in all this. It's been really great to hear from everybody. And I have to say, like, there isn't anything I heard today that I don't feel in myself. And I'm guessing that most of you would feel similarly. And I'm curious, Tegan, did you want to add anything? Did you have anything from your experience that you wanted to share before we finished up?
Well, I think it's been a huge personal journey. And I mean, as someone that sort of comes sort of with my intuition on my sleeve, my heart on my sleeve, I think that's what initially attracted me to Enki, because I felt that I resonated with me. But then in actually doing the teacher training, I've had to delve into, who am I? What am I bringing? What are my overlays? What are my triggers? It's been very meaningful work that I wasn't expecting. It was an unexpected sort of piece. I felt like the educational pedagogy sort of coming at it similar to Perky, really attracted me. I like the approach, but it's the underlaying of where am I on this journey? How am I to tap into my own wisdom and vitality? And that journey is just beginning, really.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all. It's been really great for me to hear from you and to be able to share as well, and what this journey has meant for each of us. I think we could probably talk more, but our time is up now.
Thank you for
several of these.
Anna.
Thank you.